Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. Folks, you cannot make this up because it keeps coming up. It keeps coming up. LeBron James has won wherever he went. It just keeps like, we heard this. So in 2020, this was the slogan for LeBron James after he won. Just fitting him winning a championship with the damn world shut down and people dying. Just fitting for him, right? To take the easy way out. Like, he's always taking the easy way out, right? If anybody petitioned for the NBA season to restart in the pandemic, in the middle of the pandemic, it was LeBron James in Unclutch Sports. So, of course, stacking the odds, stacking the deck, right? And team hopping team to team and leaving these teams after being destroyed by other NBA professional players, right? Who either was at a disadvantage on their team or had the equal amount of help, right? And LeBron James still got dusted off. So let's think about it. Did he win everywhere he went, or did he lose everywhere he went? Right? When you look at it, did he win more than he lost? No, he lost more than he won. So he is a loser. He lost more. He lost wherever he went. The guy's a certified loser. He's a certified loser. Not only because he's 4-6 in the finals, with 6 finals blowout losses, where you didn't even get to go to a game 7 in all those 6 losses, in those fourth quarters, in those 6 losses weren't even close. It's because you stacked the deck and you lost. That's why. You stacked the deck and you still lost more than you won. And you melted down in a lot of those games. You was getting meaningless stat padding at the end of those games when the games were blowouts in those finals, those 6 finals losses. You was just out there stat padding. It's over. Go to the bench. You got rolled off the damn court. It's over. You should have been putting up those stats when it meant something. Not when nobody is defending you. Nobody cares. You got to get them before that. You did it. And this is a LeBron James made-up career, right? It's a made-up, like Sports and Fitness Rant said, it's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale career. And anybody thinks that this guy is an all-time great winner, an all-time great top 10 player, is fooling themselves. And it exposes how weak the era he played in. Right? When we talk about a GOAT debate, or you're ranking guys and stuff like this at a top 5, you don't compare somebody else's era as far as, oh, Michael Jordan didn't play in this era. Michael Jordan couldn't beat this team. Kareem couldn't beat this team. You don't do it like that. You guys are making up stuff. First of all, the NBA pretty much got away with defense. They said no more defense is allowed, especially in the 2020s. It was in the 2010s, in the 2000s. So you can't even compare eras because defense was first always in the NBA. Always. Like I said before, do away with the offensive line and the defensive line in the NFL, right? You keep your defensive backs and your linebackers and stuff like that, and they can't rush the quarterback, right? Even your linebackers nobody can rush the quarterback. So essentially what you got is receivers, running backs, tight ends, all the other players, but the defensive line and the offensive line, and nobody can rush the quarterback. How do you think that's going to work out? How do you think that's going to work out for a lot of these guys in the NFL? They're going to be putting up crazy numbers, crazy stats, And after they put up these crazy stats, you then say later on down the road, oh man, it don't look like Elway was that good, man. It don't look like Manny was that good. It don't look like Brady was that good. They couldn't do this. They could. It's ridiculous what these people are saying. And then you actually have NBA players. These are NBA players who are comparing defense to no defense. And we told you before why they had to take out the defense. Because the LeBron era guys aren't that good. They aren't that good. Imagine their superstar of the league came out of an academy school playing nobodies. Nobody's doing dunks and layups on plumbers playing in academy schools, right? He wasn't in college playing the best of high school players. He was playing the best of state players in that state, academy school kids. This was the this was the guy with the most hype. Are you kidding me? The guy with the most hype and the most expectations. And when he came into the NBA, he shot 41% as a rookie. Couldn't shoot the ball from the perimeter, bricking it up at free throws. Handles weren't all that good because remember, they did away with defense. Missed the All-Star, missed playoffs. Come on, man. And then as soon as this guy, 2 years later, when they outlaw defense, now he's making the playoffs. Huh? But yeah, that was their savior, their new league savior, a guy dunking on academy school kids. Had it proved that he was the best out of college players, right? When he was in college. And when you go to the NBA, now you're playing the best of college players. When you're in college, you're playing the best of high school players. This guy's career is a fairy tale. It's made up. He loses, what was it? Five finals losses in Cleveland. This, could you imagine Michael Jordan? It don't matter if he lost. It don't matter who he lost to. 5 finals blowout losses in Chicago, and he would be revered. And he left them twice to go join super teams. You think Michael Jordan would be revered in Chicago as a Bull? How could this guy be a Cleveland Cavalier all-time great based on what? Stats? And these are the guys that support him. Primetime loser people out here and people who lie, right? So when they say he won everywhere he went, we all know where this came from. The Stephen A. Smiths, the Nick Wrights, the Shannon Sharps. Remember, these guys get paid to lie. They get paid to lie. And then the people, the kids, or the dumb adults, they repeat this lie. And if you repeat this lie, you have to be a retard because you're not thinking about what you're saying. There's no way you can. Did he lose 5? How many times did he lose in Cleveland? No, he didn't lose 5 times. He lost 07. It damn sure seemed like it. I forgot about Miami. He lost 6 times, man. That's a lot. So he lost 2007, 2015, 2017, and 2018. So he lost 4 times. He lost 4 times in Cleveland and 2 times in Miami. And although he didn't lose any with the Lakers, he hasn't made it back to the finals since the world shut down and people were dying. He hasn't made it back. And he has missed the play. Essentially, without the play-in, he has missed the playoffs. What? What would that be? Every year? No. I don't even know how long he's been there. So that would be 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, right? I think he's been there. He would essentially be there for 5 playoff seasons, right? If he made the playoffs every single year. So that would be 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So that's 5 times. So without the play-in, in the years he did miss the playoffs, wouldn't that be 1 time? If there was no play-in. No play-in, right? So it would just be 20, right? No, 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 no. 2 times, right? 2 times, because after they won the championship in 20, he came back and made the playoffs in 21 and got blown out in the first round. So without the play-in, he only makes the playoffs 2 times. So they had to handicap the league, right? So this guy can make the playoffs. They had to handicap the league. And then try to make it, this and that. They had to handicap the league so this guy can make the playoffs. That's crazy. They have to handicap the league so this guy can win meaningless championships. The in-season tournament, meaningless. Means nothing. Another group pool. Remember, this is like some Olympic stuff. Remember, they put LeBron and crew, the Olympic team, in the group pool. And they played who? A bunch of nobodies. The rawest, toughest, supposed to be able to beat the dream team, and put them amongst the weakest group pool. Puerto Rico, Serbia, South Sudan. And then when they almost got beat, they want to tell you, see how good these players. A bunch of nobodies that would never make the NBA that they're going against in the 80s and 90s. These guys would not make the NBA. All these role players for these other countries would never make the NBA in the 80s and 90s. Never. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. Because defense is first. You cannot look like this superstar in the 80s and 90s unless you, one, play defense, or you're able to get around the defense that is played on you. Nobody is laxing. And if you beat that guy, it's another guy coming at you. There's no spread out floor. So another group pool that they put this guy in a play-in. In-season tournament. Really? And put him in the weakest group pool. The weakest. Not the strongest. Remember, if you're the best, you're supposed to play the best competition. Now, I get it. They say, well, the playoffs in the NBA or, any playoffs, if you're the best, you always play the weakest, right? But that's proven, right? You go through a regular season and you prove you're the best to play the weakest competition. And then at the end, in the championship game, you're usually playing the strongest competition, right? But you proving yourself, right? Hustling, going to other competitions courts, beating them, playing at home, doing everything necessary to prove you was the best over all these teams in your conference. That ain't what happened in the damn in-season tournament. It's a damn lottery. Lotteries are rigged. You don't do that. If you want to have a playoff, you do it. You look at the season before and see who finished where. That's how you do it. And according to whoever finished 1 through 8, whatever like that, 1 through 10, whatever it is. The people who finish the highest play the weakest competition. Not the people who finish the lowest plays the weakest competition. That's nonsense. And it just didn't happen in the in-season tournament. It happened in Olympics. You guys aren't sick of not being able to praise a winner, a guy that's dominant in statistical titles, a guy that's dominant in defense, a guy that's all over the damn court? Like guys were back in the 80s and 90s. What about a guy that's a prolific scorer? You guys aren't. Where's this at? We never got this from LeBron James, Kevin Durant, none of these guys that's here today. Your ADs, at least AD plays defense whenever he's not crying. I don't understand why it's only one guy in this league hitting the weights. All these other dudes are frail and skinny. And it's really a reason for that, because they don't have to bang and compete and run up and down the court and be all over somebody and all this stuff like they did in the 80s and 90s. They could just stand around and wait for a damn shot. Stand around on defense, because all the guys doing is sitting at the three-point line. So he's never driving, really. And if the guy drives, you can't even touch him or they're going to call foul. I'm not trying to say you have to foul him. But you gotta remember what they considered a foul in the 80s and 90s wasn't getting in front of a guy and trying to stop him. In the 80s and 90s, a foul was considered when the guy was in an act of shooting, right? So if you hacked him in the act of shooting, whether you bumped him, hit him on the arm, hit him on the wrist, or something like that, that was considered a foul, right? Not bumping the guy going to, now if you really gnawed him, yeah, of course, if he's going to the basket. But if you're just playing body-to-body defense on the guy that's going to the basket, it's not a foul. They was hand-checking you. And putting elbows in the, like, I keep trying to tell you, man. They made a different game so these guys can look like they're better than what they are. Can look like they're better than what they are. And like I said, it starts with defense first. So yeah, these guys, like LeBron James, he lost miserably wherever he went. Miserably. All they can do is give you a name and some stats for this guy. That's all they can give you. They cannot give you any other dominant greatness. I heard one dude, look, I think I was listening to some podcast the other day, and they said LeBron has been dominant for all these years. Dominant? In what? In what? Who has he been dominating? Because every time you turn around, somebody else is winning the championship. Somebody else is winning a statistical title, and he's not. Somebody's winning defensive teams, and he's not. Somebody's winning another MVP, and he's not. For over 10 years in his 30s, all this has been happening. Since his 30s, since he turned 30. Somebody else is winning another championship. Somebody else is on the defensive team or second team, and he's not. Somebody is winning another MVP, and he's not. Somebody else is winning a statistical title, and he's not. What? So how is he making these all NBA teams? At the least, who has he been dominating? He's been dominating the pockets of these silly ass fans that don't know basketball in Cleveland, Miami, the Lakers. This is what this guy's going to give you. A show. These people don't know real basketball. They don't understand real basketball. They don't know the history of the NBA. What do you call them? These are entertainers. They're not real. They're not real basketball players, right? They're not professional basketball players that want to be recognized as all-time greats by winning, by competing, not running to another man, making their teammates better, and not playing with other teams' number one franchise players who are Hall of Famers. They don't want to do this. Why don't they want to do this? Because they can't. They're not that good. Even with their lax defense, you would think this guy would have 6 rings by now. Even with no defense in the NBA, and this guy plays 0 defense. And the reason why this guy plays 0 defense, because he doesn't have that type of stamina to play on a high level on both sides of the court. He don't have it. He's never had it. The only reason why he's ever been on these defensive teams because he was going against nobodies as far as defense in his era. So in the forward position, there's really never been too many people for him to challenge. Never been a great defender. He's been a good defender at his position. So you guys tell me what you think. Man, this guy is a win. He's won wherever he went. Won what? What did he win? He got his ass tore up wherever he went. He had the most help wherever he went. He made a mockery out of the NBA. And the NBA has never recovered yet because they have to keep not only his storyline going of failure that they try to make greatness, but they have to also excuse all the other players doing what he did to make it seem like it was okay. And then again, they try to criticize other players for doing what he did because they won more than he won by doing it, or they beat him while they did what he did. Yeah, they can be hypocrites sometimes. Never once had they talk about this guy stacked the deck wherever he went. Always been excuses. Oh, this guy got hurt. This team had this. He averaged this and that. Look, man. I'm going to tell you once again. This guy's career is made up. He's a poor shooter from mid-range. He's a poor shooter from three. He's a poor shooter. I'm saying as this so-called GOAT all-time great. He's a poor shooter at three. Right? Well, I wouldn't say, he's not good. He's not a good three-point shooter. He's not a good mid-range shooter. He's not a good free throw shooter. He doesn't have any paint moves, any footwork. His dribbling skills is based on no defense in the NBA, and he's just going to arm guard the shit out of you and push you away if you try to go for him, which is an offensive foul. He had to lift weights while the league got smaller just to be this good. Imagine if he stayed the size he was. And I'm not trying to say everybody stays the size they was, but most guys back in the day, they got big because the defense, because everything was tougher in the league. That's why they were lifting weights, right? They was bumping. They was doing all this stuff. But just imagine if this dude, okay, he got cut up or whatever like that, didn't get to this crazy size that he's at now. It was the average size of the rest of the guys in the league. I ain't trying to say he's got to be skinny. Let's just say he didn't get, 270, 260, and all this stuff. Where would he be? He couldn't bull charge the lane and put stiff arms in people. He would just be an average player. And when you look at it, he's just an average player with no positional skills. Right? He's an average player that the NBA chose to be the chosen one. He's an average player in the 80s and 90s. There's no lane to bull charge. No lane. He's just an average big man in the 80s and 90s. And if you don't have any positional skills, because he's going to have to play a position in the 80s and 90s, right? And if you don't have any positional skills there, you're just an average player. No good positional skills. You guys are looking at an average player. That's it. Who can do dunks and layups the majority of his moves with no defense even put on him, while he's pumping weights to get bigger in a league that's full of skinny guys, skinny three-point shooters. That's it. He didn't dominate no big man his size. Who? He didn't dominate any era with defense on him. He wasn't a dominant three-point shooter. He wasn't a dominant mid-range shooter. He wasn't a dominant driver to the basket where he has to adjust shots going to the basket because you got all-time great big men or a good big man that give the effort. Where's this at? He wasn't a dominant free throw shooter. He wasn't a dominant statistical title winner. He wasn't dominant in the paint. Yes, he scored all these points in the paint, but it's just driving. It's taking a head start and driving to the paint. This guy it's a joke. This guy is big as Karl Malone and calling himself a small forward. What a joke. What a joke. And then don't even have no small forward qualities. He can't shoot like Bird. Can't shoot like Glenn Rice. Can't shoot like Steve Smith. Can't even shoot like Dominique Wilkins from the perimeter. Man, I seen that man. Here's some perimeter shots, man. Go back to Cleveland. Not consistently. He's an NBA player. He's a basketball player. So, of course, he can hit some shots. We're talking about on a consistent basis when you know certain players for doing certain things out of their game. This guy's not known for nothing but layups and dunks in a lax era where you could just drive to the basket with skinny three-point shooters and one guy in the middle of the lane. His career is made up. And anybody who says this guy's an all-time great top 10 player, they're liars. They're just trying to make money. You got to remember, there's guys making millions of dollars on TV lying for this guy. Getting rebounds with nobody, flat-footed, with no all-time great rebounders to challenge him. It's a made-up career. That's why it just keeps going on and on, because the NBA knows their league can get talked about by promoting a loser through social media and other avenues, podcasts, that pisses people off who really know the NBA. You couldn't do this with Kareem and Michael Jordan, right? This would be like, a kind of a good debate. They don't want a good debate. They don't want a good debate. They want this thing to be kind of like politics, right? People being pissed off, religion, and people debating, people being mad, going back and forth. LeBron James has never been a dominant. He don't even have a three-peat with all these great players he played with. It only has one repeat. It's a joke. This guy has cheated the fans wherever he went. Tell me what you think.